Dr. Dina, and it's February the 12th, 2026. This video is going to be about bioenergetics, how to balance the body and the mind, the palate and the pelvis, the root and the crown. So we'll put together some information from my studies as a chiropractor, acupuncturist, yogi, applied kinesiology. So I'm creating this kind of unique package for you, and I'll talk about some of the anatomy first. We'll go over some acupuncture points, and then I'll show you some exercises using a Pilates ball. So this will be helpful maybe for someone who might be experiencing back pain, leg pain, pelvic pain, incontinence, hemorrhoids, menstrual problems, sexual trauma. Anyone that has issues in and around below the belt, let's say, and it's not really, it may not be for you. So I'd love you to check first with your healthcare provider, your chiropractor, your medical doctor or physio or whoever's managing your structure because certain conditions might be contraindicated to what I'm going to show you. So I just have to sort of put that out there before we start. So let's talk about why this might be important. In yesterday's video, I went over astrology, and we talked about how right now the stars are aligning for you to take back your power. The only thing that's stopping you is you. And if you've trauma stored in your body or your tissues, and sexual trauma is a common one, it can really hold you back, you know, from your true power and your love and wisdom and feeling balanced in your body. So these exercises might be helpful for you. So this is looking at you from the front. This is your pelvis, your belly's here. This is your front. This is the front part of your neck, okay? And your ribs come around here, right? This is actually your first rib up here, all the way up here and in through here, okay? Your first ribs come around here. And then this is the front, your chest, and your pelvis here. So if we look at the back, right, that's your tailbone. These are the sits bones. I might talk about the sits bones, the ischial tuberosities. And this is the pelvic crest. So later I'm going to be discussing about putting a block at the crest, okay, when I lie down, but you might not be able to see me. So I'm talking about putting the block right over this area, okay? So this is the top part of the iliac crest. And your hip bones kind of come in, right, and attach into the acetabular margin right there, okay? So just a little anatomy, the hips, right, the iliac crest, these are the lower back vertebrae in light blue, or the lumbar vertebrae, and the thoracic are in green, the cervical are in purple. In between each of these vertebrae, there's a yellow nerve, right? And that comes right off the spinal cord. So where the nerve comes out is called the intervertebral foramina, and you can see it's bordered by the facet joint at the back, the disc at the front. So if somebody has nerve pain, it can be coming from a misalignment, right, in that joint, the facet joint. It could be coming from a discal bulge, which is like the jelly donut, that has in between the vertebrae that acts like a shock absorber. So it could be coming from any number of those areas and structures. But the central nervous system, the brain, and the spinal cord, the brain is protected by the skull, and the spinal cord is protected by the spinal bones. So, you know, in a wonderful world, you have curves in your spine, inwards curve in your lower back, this will be called the lordosis, a little outwards curve here, slight, and then an inwards curve here in your neck. And those curves are like coils in a spring. They help dissipate the forces equally over your spine. But what's happening in today's world, when we're sitting on our computers, right, we're in this position. So our shoulders are rolled forward, and then we have what we call text neck. Okay, so it's a forward translation into your head carriage and extension. So when we're in that position, it puts our spinal cord in tension. right? And I should have had this, but I knew as soon as I would start talking, I would think about what I needed. But imagine that your spinal cord, okay, is like a cord that goes, well, it is a cord that goes from your head to your tailbone. And if the curves are supported, you've got some slack in that cord. If your head comes forward and your shoulders are forward, that curve or that cord is pulled tight. And not only the spinal cord tension, but then tension all along the nerve roots, tension on the joints, tension on the muscles, tension on the tendons, on the little ligaments that connect the bones. So structure and alignment is important. So when I had my clinic, aligning to your power was kind of our tagline, not just in a physical way, aligning to your power, but when your body is in a neutral alignment, you're open to receive love from other people, from the universe. And we know this in a profound way, because if you're in that anterior head carriage posture, right, you're working from your primitive brain, which is really reactive. It's self-centered. It's emotional. So it really creates a more remedial way of living. It's a reptilian brain. It's called that for a reason, right? We're like reptiles crawling around on the ground. But when we have kind of a neutral position and our head is over, right, our palate's over our pelvis, as we say in yoga, you're working from the frontal cortex, which is more inspired. It's globally connected. It makes you more a humanitarian, or you're connected to your service to the world instead of your self-centeredness, and that pulls you out of any emotion that you're experiencing for yourself and puts you into a more inspired place of wanting to give a service to the world. So this is really important, and it has many applications for this transition that's happening right now. We all need to be focused, right, on creating a more inspired world for ourselves. And posture is a very basic way to stimulate that. So that's a little bit of the anatomy that we'll talk about as we go through. But the pelvis is back here. The sacrum, or the tailbone, right? The tailbone is right here. And then the pelvic floor muscles, if we tip you, so this is looking at you from the front, if we tip you upside down, there would be muscles that would be spanning over here, okay? And those are the pelvic floor muscles. And they are like saran wrap over a bowl. So the sacroiliac joints at the back here, right here, okay, where the sacrum attaches to the ilium, that's why it's called the sacroiliac joint, right here. They move, and they move like in a figure eight type motion when you're walking, like this. So the pelvic floor muscles are like saran wrap over this pelvis. They hold the pelvic organs in, and they also give stability to the pelvis. So with childbirth, with sexual trauma, with mechanical issues, with accidents, car accidents, falls, the pelvis can get shifted and can cause dysfunction not only in the bones, right, in the sacroiliac joints, the lower back, but also in the pelvic floor muscles. And all these organs, this is looking into your pelvis. See all these nerves? This is a big nerve plexus called the cauda equina right at the bottom. But all these nerves come from your pelvis and supply the lower legs, right? They supply the lower limb and all the organs in your pelvis. So again, I keep saying sexual trauma because I want this to be kind of a focus, but any pain into your lower back or pelvis is often right in through this area. But the interesting part is that the segments in your sacrum are correlated to the segments in your neck and in your head. So it's kind of like the foundation of a house, right? If the basic foundation is off, even a few degrees, the top floor being your head is going to be way off. And there's chiropractors that just work with the cervical spine that give the same analogy from the top down, right? If your head is not on straight, everything else lines up according to that misalignment. So the few exercises and acupuncture points that I'll give you will help you to balance yourself. And when your body and your nervous system is balanced, you're thinking more clearly and your thinking is more balanced. So let's get into it. Thank you all for being here. If you have any questions, I'll check in about just before I sign out. So I won't check back, but I will check at the very end. So if you have any questions, you can pop them in. Bioenergetics. So let's talk about the acupuncture points first. One acupuncture point is in the pelvis. It's between the anus and the scrotum for men. It's called the conception vessel 1. Or between the anus and the vaginal opening for women. And this is a powerful, powerful acupuncture point. So after chiropractic college, I trained at a traditional Chinese medicine school in Beijing, China. And they have an acupuncture department there, just like oncology or cardiology. You know, it's an actual department. So I learned a lot there. And they would never do an acupuncture needle in that conception vessel 1 because it was so sensitive. But it's so powerful, and there's ways of stimulating it. And I'm going to show you an exercise on the Pilates ball that I got on Amazon. As soon as I show something, people say, "Where did you get it? How much was it?" So I just got this on Amazon. It's 9 inches. It's a Pilates ball, but I'm going to show you some exercises on that. And I highly recommend it. It's inexpensive and it's really helpful. But conception vessel 1, did I want to tell you anything else about that point? So by strengthening this point and stimulating it with the Pilates ball, it'll improve coordination, reduce the guarding, and help you kind of release and relax a little better through your pelvis. Again, after childbirth or sexual trauma, that area often becomes tight. And Kegel exercises, right, holding and tightening, may not be for everybody. In fact, instead of tightening, you may need to be relaxing. And there's pelvic floor physiotherapists, if you're having a particular problem, that I would recommend, where they can do some testing with you, internal testing, and figure out which muscles are tight and which ones you need to relax. So this is just kind of a general information session, let's say. But it helps teach you to release safely, which is really important for somebody who's had trauma. And birth can be a trauma. There's many women that I've seen in my practice who had severe birth trauma that took us a while to unwind. So this point that we'll be stimulating, conception vessel 1, is really important for that. And we'll show you that on the ball in just a second. In Qigong, that point is called the $1 million point. So they really believe it's important too. But so we'll do that exercise in just a second. Let's come back to the acupuncture points on the face, because you have acupuncture points here that also connect to the pelvis. And the first one I'm going to show you is the governing vessel 20. So it's right at the top of your head. If you put your finger at the top of your ear and just allow your hand to come straight up, right? The point that reaches at the top of your head is actually governing vessel 20. Now you'll feel around, and it'll be like a little divot, and you'll just hold there. So right above your ears, this is an important acupuncture point. In China, they would often put a needle in here before they do any others because it relaxes the person. They don't jump when you put the other needles in. No, so right above the top of your ear, fold up, and right at the top, there's governing vessel 20. And you can just stimulate it, just maybe pushing, and you can move around a little bit, massage until you feel that little divot, and then you can just hold. Sometimes one side will feel a little higher than the other, and just hold on that. That's a great point for relaxing. You can feel that relaxing. I can feel it relaxing my whole face. And your jaw and your mouth is often connected to the pelvis. This is really important and what we'll work on. The other point is called Tai Jing, and it's just out. It's like an extra meridian point. It's like one finger away from the edge of your eyebrow, and it's almost like the temples, right? If you're having a headache, you'll see people kind of do this, right, intuitively. So this is an important point. I found in working with patients over the years that this is an important point to balance the sphenoid bone, which is often connected to the pelvis. So you can actually use 2 fingers if you want from that one point and then out a little bit. And what you're looking for is symmetry. So if one side feels a little higher than the other, you just hold a little bit more pressure on that side, and you're breathing in and breathing out. You're just holding it for a few minutes until it's not tender anymore, or until it feels balanced. Okay, so then we'll go to your inner, right in the corner of your eye here. Okay, this is bladder. This is the bladder meridian 1. Again, if somebody's having a headache, what do they do, right? They're doing this. So you can do it using 2 fingers or just holding. Holding again, breathing for a few seconds, stimulating. Same thing out here, gallbladder meridian, gallbladder 1, right at the corner of your eye, holding, stimulating. Okay, and then the last one I'm going to show you around the eye is the stomach 3. So right underneath your pupil, right on your cheekbone is the stomach meridian. Okay, so right there. And you're just holding for a moment. So an acupuncture point, like I said, almost feels like a little divot underneath the skin. So we'll just, again, top of the fingers, governing vessel 20. Tai Yang, extra point out here, holding. Bladder, gallbladder, stomach 3. Now the governing vessel 24 and governing vessel 26 and conception vessel 24 right above the lip. So I often stimulate these together. So when I'm putting my face cream on, and maybe I'll do a little session on face, I show you, I kind of do these things, right? Just kind of stimulating as I'm going to. But anyway, the pelvis, these are the ones specific, okay? Top of the ears, up, governing vessel 20, out here, corner of the eye, bladder, stomach, right? Gallbladder, governing vessel, and conception vessel. So those are little acupuncture points you can do. And like I said, if you get into a morning routine when you're washing your face, it just helps balance your brain, really, balance your body. And I think that was all I wanted to show you there. So we can get into now, we've talked about the philosophy, the anatomy, the acupuncture. Let's do the exercises. Is that what I wanted to say? Yeah, so I may show you too a little exercise. Thank you to my friend Deanna. Actually, she's a holistic. Deanna is a friend for 25 years, but she's also a holistic esthetician. So if you're in Halifax and you're looking for a holistic esthetician, she's one of the ones that I really love, who I've known for 25 years and who I see regularly. But we were talking today about castor oil and massaging the umbilicus with castor oil. So I'm going to show you a little massage. And applied kinesiology that I've studied, they talk about how all the reflex points come around the umbilicus. And in astrology and in yoga, we talk about how, in acupuncture, how the meridians all come around the umbilicus, right? The umbilicus is where you're connected to your mom. So all these, nerve roots are really rich in this area. So it's a great place to massage, especially for trauma. And I'll talk you through that. So if you're wanting to play along and you have any olive oil or castor oil or coconut oil, you can run get it now, and I'll show you that kind of as we get going. But let's start by using the ball. So again, I got this on Amazon. It's 9 inches. It's called the Pilates ball. It comes in a little package and you blow it up yourself. And I'm going to be sitting on it. So I don't know. Let's see if you can see me here. I might need to put this down a little bit. Okay, so you're sitting on this ball, and this is stimulating, like I said, that point right between the anus and the front part, so the vagina or the scrotum for men. Cramp in my foot. Okay, so you're going to sit there, and then you're going to roll forward. Okay, so as you inhale, you're going to allow your pelvis to roll forward. So inhale. Roll forward, and you're opening your legs. Inhale and allow your belly to kind of come out. As you exhale, you're pulling back. So your legs come together, you're pulling back. This is unwinding trauma in your pelvis using your breath, using acupuncture, and using movement. So I've never seen this before. I've made it up based on what I know. But I think it would be really helpful. So we'll try it again, okay? So again, you're back, exhale. Then as you inhale, you're rolling that ball forward, and you're rolling forward. So you're inhaling,
Opening your legs, opening your pelvis, and then you're exhaling back. Okay, so you're tucking your pelvis, rolling forward, exhaling, pulling up on your pelvic floor at the same time. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Let's one more time. Okay, inhale, exhale. So again, that ball is comfortable. There's different ways in yoga. You can use your heel to kind of sit and stimulate that area. There's all sorts of different balls, but I really like this. I really like the Pilates ball. It's soft. It allows you to roll forward, so you're stimulating across the point. It also allows you to use your breath and the muscles in your pelvic floor, those saran wrap muscles, let's call them, that hold your pelvis and hold your organs in. So that's the first exercise that I think is helpful for strengthening the pelvis. And also releasing any trauma in your pelvis. Now, when you're doing these exercises, you could get a little emotional. You could feel, trauma coming up, especially if you've had trauma in that area. So, be patient with yourself. Maybe only do it once or twice, or, use your own intuitive voice and your own intuitive knowing to know how much, how often. I'm thinking, it might be good to start with maybe 4 or 5, and then you can work up maybe to 10. 10 is a good number. I'm just going to play my bowl here again. If you watched the video yesterday, you'll see how sound helps release tension in your body. So often when I'm working with clients, astrology clients or energy clients, I'm using sound to help mobilize energy. So that's the first exercise on the Pilates ball. The second exercise, and I would do it in this order, right? I would do the face first, the acupuncture points to relax you, and then the rolling of the pelvis, and then we're going to work up to the thoracic. So we talked about the text neck and how you're rolling forward, how it puts pressure on your brain, but that position, right, of being in this forward, shoulders forward, actually reduces the space for your heart and lungs. So you can't take a deep breath. It also affects the diaphragm, where you can't breathe fully. So it's important not only for the nerves, but also for the front body and for your organ function to open that. In yoga, they talk about the Pingala and the Ida nadis, or the energy channels. That corresponds in acupuncture, which is kind of neat, right, to the conception and governing vessel. So it's a similar system of energy. They just have different words for it depending on the different disciplines that they study. So that exercise in Pilates and yoga, know it's stimulating the posterior and anterior nadis as well. So that exercise is going to open this front body and stimulate, right, that front conception channel, let's say. But it also opens the heart chakra. And many different researchers, Barbara M. Brennan, who's a physicist, used to be a physicist with NASA, who, traded in her good-paying job to study the human kinetic field. She's written many books. Hands of Light's one that I really love. But she talks about this as opening up the front body and opening up consciousness. And also Wilhelm Reich talks about this in all his research with his clients who have sexual dysfunction. And his book, The Function of Orgasm, I thought was brilliant piece of literature to read. But they both talk about this. And in chiropractic, we talk about it. In yoga, it's a heart opener. You can use a yoga bolster. But I'm just going to use the Pilates ball today. If you have had chiropractic for a lifetime, like I have, and I will be. I love chiropractic. I'm adjusted every week. Highly recommend chiropractic to everyone, including kids, right? If you haven't had your kids checked, how do you know they need to see a chiropractor or not? So there's my plug for chiropractic. I love it. I love it. I love it. If you had regular chiropractic, you have good mobility in your thoracic spine, you're doing yoga regularly, you may want to use a bigger ball, bigger stability ball. This one's 65 centimeter diameter for the extension, or a yoga roll that I showed in one of my other videos, or a yoga bolster. But for today, I'm going to keep it simple with this one because most people will be able to do this. Again, if you have osteoarthritis, if you have kyphosis, if you have, a disc injury, a problem, check with your chiropractor, your physio, your body person before you try any of these exercises to make sure it's appropriate for you, because it could cause problems or pain. I'm just saying, this is just a general recommendation. But using the Pilates ball, I don't know if you're going to be able to see me here, right behind your shoulder blades. Okay, so if you're a woman, it's right about your bra strap. It's just at the end of your shoulder blades. For a man, and you're just opening up your heart. You can still hear me here and see me. So that's where the ball is, and it's just opening up the front body. Okay, you can just do a little massage from your pelvis all the way up. This would be a time when you could use your castor oil. You don't have to be in this position to do that, but if you were to open your shirt and just find your umbilicus, and then put some oil into your umbilicus, and then you can massage around it, okay, in a clockwise motion. So in applied kinesiology, the top of your umbilicus is fire sign, and then off to the left is earth, at the bottom water, wood over to the right, metal, and then back at the top fire. So tapping around actually stimulates, and also massaging around your umbilicus. Now if you feel a little tender spot, or you feel like a little contracture, which you might have if you've had some sort of a surgery, a hernia surgery, or you've had your tubes tied, or tubal ligation or something, you might feel some little tightness or contracture. You can find that, and you can just hold on that for a moment and breathe. Inhaling, sending love to that area that might be tight. You can just move it around a little bit, move it to the side, or move it in a little bit. So you're coming around your umbilicus, and you're looking for the tissue to be soft. Okay, so you're moving around, not with the tops of your fingers, but with the finger pads, like if you were smoothing out a pie crust or pizza dough or something, I don't know. So you're moving it around the umbilicus. But then if you're feeling the tissue is not moving, you can actually just hold on it for a moment, right? Speak nice things to your body. I love you, release, breathe, release. So that's a powerful area, right? Fire, earth, water, wood, and metal all around the umbilicus. And again, it's a governing point for a lot of the primitive reflexes, thinking about, right, how you're connected to your mom via the umbilical cord. So if you were to do a massage, say nice things to yourself, use some oil so you can slip around easily. Coconut oil is good for that. The castor oil actually has kind of an added benefit of being a detox, but you want to start slowly with that, because you can actually feel sick. It'll detox your body so quickly that you can feel sick. So maybe try it on a little part of your body first, and if you survive and live for the next day, then you can put it in your umbilicus. But I do this at night. I massage my feet and the acupuncture points on my feet with the castor oil, and then I do my belly before I go to sleep, and it really warms you up and gives you a good night's sleep. So we talked about sitting on the Pilates ball, rocking back and forth, stimulating the conception vessel 1, which is really where the two different energy channels, the main one that comes up your body, conception vessel, and the governing vessel at the back, corresponds to the yoga channels, the nadis, Pingala and Ida, so it's a powerful point to stimulate. Then we talked about the thoracic extension. We're opening up the body, not only releasing tension in through the spinal nerve roots, helping your posture, but also opening up your chest so you can breathe more deeply. The massage around your umbilicus will help with tension into the abdomen, because when clients that I've treated over the years that have had trauma, physical, sexual, mental trauma, tend to kind of go into like a flex position, right? This is like protecting our organs. So oftentimes the restrictions are at the front body. And opening up the front body, it's like a trust thing, right? If an animal opens up the front body to you, you know, they're trusting. If an animal's in this position, you know, oh, he's probably had some trauma. Same for humans. So opening that front body slowly, using, you know, warm oil, using your breath, using the ball to get a little bit of extension is helpful. The last one I'm going to show you is a bridge. In yoga, they call it a supported bridge exercise. If there's any questions as we're going along, you can pop them in and I'll check back in just a second. But this is a supported bridge. And some of people who are watching, I won't say who, but you might have seen this exercise if you're my friend. But I'll show you this exercise first. I think you can see me here, can you? Maybe I'll move it down here. It's the worst thing about changing positions on the video. Okay, so your feet are up and you're almost touching your heels, right? So your legs are up. And this is similar to the exercise we did on the ball, but you can start, if it's okay for you, by having this block, yoga block, underneath your pelvis. Now the top of the block goes right at the top of the crest, and you're just resting your body weight. So if there's a torque or twist in your pelvis, sometimes the weight, just the weight of your body on that block will release the tension through your pelvis. If it's painful, don't do it. And you don't want to have it too high. You don't want to have it into your lower back. It's right across the top part of the gluteal crease almost, and going down towards your tailbone, and just resting in that position and breathing in the breaths that we talked about. Inhaling, allowing your belly to expand. Exhaling, bringing it in. If that's too painful, it doesn't feel good, you shouldn't stay there for more than 3 or 4 minutes anyway. You take that out and you can just do this exercise. Let's see if I can get it on that. That's better. Okay. You can do this exercise like you did on the ball. Okay, so you would inhale, tip your pelvis forward, okay? And then as you exhale, you're pulling in, flattening out your lower back. Okay, so you're inhaling, belly comes out, exhaling, belly comes in. So now we can add the legs in if you want. Exhaling, inhaling, legs come open, exhaling, coming in, exhaling, inhaling. So when you inhale, your belly needs to expand to get the air in. Think about that, right? And then as you're exhaling, the belly needs to collapse. So this breathing movement, inhale, expand, exhale, relax, inhale, exhale. Good. That movement is often missing in somebody who has pelvic trauma. And Dr. Reich talks about that. He says he's never seen a patient who's had trauma that could do a slow exhale. It's always like there's some hesitation. So the breath is like a barometer, like our voice is a barometer of our energy. The breath is almost like a barometer of the trauma that our tissues are holding. So inhaling slowly, even if you hold the inhale for a few seconds and then exhale slowly, hold the exhale for a few seconds. Even if you do nothing else that I've talked about, that breath is powerful at balancing your pH, balancing the parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system, balancing so many things, the chemicals in your body, the oxygen in your tissues. So the breath is like the foundational piece. Inhaling, allowing your belly to expand, exhaling, allowing it to contract. And even without the ball, if you don't have a ball, you can
sit in a comfortable position. If you can't cross your knees, you can sit up on a pillow or something, and you can do those breaths where you're inhaling, belly comes out, exhaling, belly comes in, and pelvic floor muscles come in. So even patients that I'd seen over the years who were given Kegel exercises, they weren't given the breathing technique with it. And if you don't have the breathing technique, it's like you're pulling in tension, and the breathing is just as important as the exercise. So if you have any questions, you can pop them in. I will just almost sign out after we do a little review. So the fact that this is important now, because we need, we'd love to have more people that are engaging their frontal cortex with an inspired vision instead of being reactive and self-centered in their brainstem. So neurologically, this is important. Also because it's a time right now where we can really step into our power. And the stars are aligning. Neptune and Saturn are going to be coming together February 20th to give you the power to create your dreams. But if you've trauma in your body holding you back, trauma is what you will see. You will look at the world and you will see trauma if it's reflecting something inside you. If you can release the trauma inside you, it allows you to step into your power. And I think these exercises will help. We showed you the anatomy and how the pelvic floor muscles underneath hold the pelvis together, but they're also responsible for the, protecting the nerves as well, and the organs in the pelvis. How the position of your spine is important, again, for your perception, basically, of the universe. We gave you some of the acupuncture points. Governing vessel 20 right at the top. The extra acupuncture point out here, which also affects the sphenoid. We gave you the bladder point, the gallbladder point, the stomach point, conception vessel, and governing vessel 26 and 24 to help you. So you can do those facial points, the rocking for conception vessel 1, and the thoracic extension for, again, helping with your posture, opening your front body, using your breath, massaging around the umbilicus. Again, I'll put this warning in that, please check with your healthcare provider before you try any of these exercises. They could be helpful, but they could also be harmful. So you want to make sure they're helpful for you in particular. I am a little biased, but I do believe everybody needs a chiropractor. At least having an assessment of your spine, because our nervous system is kind of the foundation, right? It's the first system that develops even hours after conception. It's the nervous system that really controls all the development of all the other systems. So if you have a restriction somewhere in your spine that is irritating the nervous system, you can add all the pills and potions and lotions and exercise and everything, but unless you get that splinter out, right, the body doesn't heal fully. So I really feel a part of the balance of your body and your mind is through having a nervous system that's balanced. And there's many different disciplines, osteopathy and acupuncture and craniosacral and massage and physio and Reiki. And there's all sorts of different treatments. I've had all of them. But, my trainings as a chiropractor and acupuncturist, and even I still love chiropractic because chiropractic's my favorite, and what I think, it's important to investigate, for yourself. So I don't think there's any questions here. I just want to thank you all for watching. I'm just hoping that I haven't forgotten anything. But these exercises, I hope, will help you release the trauma from your body. And when the trauma is released, you are better able to step into your power. So we'll invite you to reach for the stars, envision and achieve your personal best. And most of all, enjoy the journey. This is Dr. Tina signing out.